possibly the biggest political breakup of consequence. Floyd Shivambu yesterday announcing his resignation, or should I say he was not renewing his membership of the party. That's how he couched it, deciding to instead join the MK party under the leadership of Jacob Zuma. And it was a forlorn Julius Malema addressing a press conference along with Floyd Shivambu confirming this news. And the question is, what is the plan? Is there an elephant in the room? Have relations between EFF members disintegrated? Is this part of a broader plan of a possible merger, integration of the EFF and the MK party? Because in his letter of resignation to the EFF, Floyd Shivambu saying that he wants to allow progressive forces to unite and work towards the agenda for progressive and revolutionary change. That's the quote. Tessa Dooms, political analyst, director of Rivonia Circle. Really appreciate your time, Tessa. So we'll look at this and we'll look at the optics and we'll chatter on social media pages and say, this is actually the plan. This is the end game. Do you see it as cut and dry as that? How do you analyze this? What is a political breakup of consequence?
Good morning, Lester. Certainly a political breakup of consequence. And if anyone watched that briefing, the idea that this is some kind of political long game for Julius Malema is preposterous. It's really telling you to not see what your eyes are telling you. And I think that that's a consequence in large part to where we are in our political climate, where we have given into conspiracy and misinformation and disinformation, and fiction is just more interesting than reality. And we want to believe that we are just pawns on somebody else's chess game. But I think there were two things that were important yesterday. The first thing is that the EFF is definitely in a crisis that it hasn't seen before. The EFF is known to be a revolving door of membership. It's been a revolving door of leadership as well, but that leadership has usually been where Julius Malema decides who's in and out. And this is not a Julius Malema decision about who's in and out. It's politically not sensible to think about that. But more importantly, yesterday's press conference wasn't about the EFF, it was about the MK. The MK is the most understudied political party in this country at this point. And yesterday was a big power move for the MK party and tells us something about the MK party that we have not spoken about, which is that what it has done is it's been a consolidation of a number of different groupings of people. So it's not just a breakaway from the ANC. It's not just a Zuma party. It's not just a Zulu nationalist party. The MK has gone about this country finding leaders of groupings in society, of community-based organizations, of political leaders. Jacob Zuma has met with so many different of the small political parties. As you would remember, perhaps, there were 26 political parties that stood behind Jacob Zuma at the Rock when he started talking about the election being fraudulent. That didn't happen by accident. So Jacob Zuma has got this history of the MK party of going and collecting leaders of society in different spaces to try and consolidate different factions, different forms of power and different constituencies. And I think this is one of those moves.
Let's talk about Julius Malema and leadership style. And yes, I recall articles going back months, last year, around about this time last year, the Mail and Guardian wrote a piece, or published a piece about a growing faction within the EFF wants Floyd Shivambu to take over from Julius Malema. And that Malema has been losing favor in the party that was founded, 11 years ago. And there's a growing number of people who are exasperated by what is a unilateral role that Julius Malema plays within the EFF. Nothing gets passed, no proposal, no policy gets suggested without the approval of Julius Malema. So what does it tell us about the internal democracy of the fourth largest political party in South Africa?
Yeah, I mean, Julius has never been accused of being the most democratic leader. But it's also important to remember that Floyd played a big role in that. The making of the EFF actually is a story that starts with Floyd Shivambu, not with Julius Malema. It starts with Floyd convincing Julius and others that a political party at the time was possible. and Floyd centering Julius and making sure that Julius was the face of the party, because one of the things that Floyd Shivambu does not have is the kind of magnetic charisma that Julius Malema has. And so he played a crucial role in making Julius Malema indispensable to the EFF brand. That has given Julius Malema a lot of power. But then there's also questions about their relationship, and the relationship not only of the two of them, but of a number or few people who have been caught to the EFF. And people may ask, why would Floyd or would Julius allow Floyd to stand in front of an EFF banner while leaving the party? That must mean Julius is in control. Well, it's simply because they know too much about each other. They have, they are peas in a pod, and so for better or worse, they know everything about each other, and it is in their best interest, both of them politically, to make sure that they don't leave on bad terms, because they would be able to weaponize things against each other that nobody else would know. So Floyd has been completely complicit in Julius's ability to be, quite have a firm grip on the party. And I don't think you should underestimate that. I think Julius is weakened by Floyd's absence. Absolutely. But have there been rifts reported? Absolutely. Is there some credence to that? I think so, because I think that in the grand scheme of things, Floyd would be looking to see, is there a way forward here? And part of the way forward for the EFF has to be about considering whether Julius Malema in the long run is the best for the brand, and whether the party not having a real contestation of power is good for it or not. And no political party around the world has grown by having one leader indefinitely.
If we can remember and recall, Floyd Shivambu was never expelled by the ANC. Julius Malema was. Floyd Shivambu left the ANC and the ANC Youth League voluntarily with Julius Malema. Is there a difference in the relationship between a Julius Malema and Jacob Zuma and a Floyd Shivambu and Jacob Zuma? And what role would he play? Yes, the MK party does have a leader of the opposition in John Hlophe, who is a seasoned jurist, yes, with a cloud over his head, but he's not a politician. Do you see Floyd Shivambu somehow getting on a MK ticket? It would need to be some machinations of MK lists again for him to go into a National Assembly and be the leader of a MK party as leader of opposition in Parliament?
I mean, surely you wouldn't want to lose out on Floyd's experience in Parliament, and that's the one thing that MK has been struggling with, is that they have inexperienced parliamentarians. Even John Hlophe, with all of his experience on the bench, Parliament is just a different animal, a different beast. So I think they would benefit from his leadership there. But the thing that the MK party needs the most is a brain trust, a strategic political brain trust. And that's what Floyd Shivambu, almost as an individual, has been for the EFF. He's been the squire brain trust. Many people don't know that Floyd Shivambu has almost single-handedly written every manifesto of the EFF. The 7 cardinal pillars were written by Floyd Shivambu while they were in the ANC Youth League. His role as the brain trust of the EFF is really the big one. And so when you think about him going to the MK party, that on policy has been very, very thin, has been very, very flimsy, that hasn't really had a strategic vision for its future. You would think that Floyd would be even more useful in terms of political leadership for the future of the party, so that the party has longevity and it's not just Jacob Zuma's party as it is now in people's minds. But I think also the other point that you made about Julius Malema's relationship to Jacob Zuma and, why Floyd would go but Julius would not. There's no permanent friends or permanent enemies in politics, only permanent interests. This is one of Julius Malema's favorite things to say. And so this is not about whether Julius carries favor with Jacob Zuma or not. This is about whether or not Julius Malema is ready to let go of a political machinery that he has created and he has sole control over. And Floyd Shivambu is hedging his bets. He doesn't have sole control over the EFF. There isn't a envisioning of Floyd being able to just do whatever he wants in the EFF at this point. But the MK party as a new party, no matter how much it hinges on Jacob Zuma, is a place that has more political possibility for Floyd. A Julius for going to the MK party would almost be a demotion. For Floyd, it's almost necessarily a promotion in terms of his political clout and his ability to shape the MK party because it's nascent. I think that Julius is really not making any decisions about his likability with Jacob Zuma. Jacob Zuma is making decisions about what's best for the MK, and Floyd is deciding that he wants to shape a political party on his own terms.
So if we take away all the emotion, all the optics, is this purely about career progression for Floyd Shivambu, knowing that Julius Malema, as the leader of the EFF, there's nowhere else for him to go until he goes outside of the party, and that's when we'll see a growth, a career progression in terms of his political life?
I wouldn't call it a career progression, because that would assume, for example, that he'll take a title that is higher. That would be a career move. This is a political move. This is about whether or not he can have, he sees more opportunities for expanding on power. And one of the interesting things about the conversation that's being had, particularly on Twitter, is this idea that the EFF is going to go and capture the MK party. That's what this is. It's infiltration through the front door, as it were. And I simply don't buy that. What it is for Floyd is taking a bigger base of people, because the EFF has never hit 2.3 million votes. So he's going into a party that has a bigger base, that has resources, that has a new opportunity, because it doesn't have the kind of baggage in the minds of the voters. And he's trying to see what are the political opportunities that can be created out of the MK party. And so it's much bigger than just seeking a higher title as if he's, going up the corporate ladder.
Tessa Dooms, really appreciate your analysis.